No, it's really hard.
I'm Cam. No. Yeah.
All right. So, Monkey Mind by Daniel Smith.
I was gonna say, yeah, let's give a first opinion on the
Okay.
book.
Do you want to go first?
Sure. I actually really liked this book. It was cool to see a different perspective because I have anxiety. I've been diagnosed with anxiety. So like it was just cool to see a different perspective, and also I was a little intimidated by the first couple pages.
Oh my
Just
god.
seems that was very
Even like the first chapter.
yeah, it's just a very interesting way to open a book, but it kind of like led into the storytelling of it all.
Yeah.
So
It was like an icebreaker.
Well, I was reading the wrong book for a minute. I was like, I also did like the book. I thought at some points of the book it kind of got like boring and repetitive, sort of, like towards the end, I guess. But the beginning, I feel like had the most like details that were like important for the book that made it more interesting.
absolutely.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, but like there were definitely parts where the authors like rambled about random stuff. Like he'd like say something and then there'd be like 3 paragraphs about it when it like had nothing to do with like anxiety. So
Yeah, no, similar to you, like I thought it was a good, different kind of perspective on anxiety itself. Because I feel like everyone kind of struggles with anxiety in a sense, and to see like this at like a very extreme as well, and how it like affects his daily life, and kind of every situation he was in was kind of cool. Well, I wouldn't say cool, but like good to know that I guess it can always be worse in a sense. First couple chapters and opening paragraphs were like, okay, wow, we're really getting into it. So, but I'm glad he did kind of add that because it kind of led a basis of what it was going to be like and kind of how he's going to be actually open and honest about how everything went through. So, but yeah, we can go by chapters if you want to do that. We could just kind of talk about where we see the 4Ds to begin with.
yeah, like we can just do that.
Yeah. I have every chapter notes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wrote a few notes on each one, but still.
The deviance, you could very well see where the deviance was. And I guess the dysfunction too. Those two I think were the ones that stuck out the most to me, just because his thoughts were so abnormal and it just engulfing to him, it just overtook him at certain times. There was one page where I bookmarked it because I thought it was during his road trip with Esther.
No.
Yeah, where it's literally just all of his thoughts in one whole page.
Yeah.
Just him rambling on about it. It was just, yeah, it was very interesting and
It's pretty apparent throughout the whole book about how each of his thoughts kind of controls his whole life. You could definitely see when he was talking about Esther and stuff, and when they were, I think it was the library or whatever, where they were hugging after she said she was sad about the baby, and how he couldn't think of anything else except for her and then not her, and then it was weird. I don't know. It was kind of a jumble of thoughts kind of put into words, but yeah.
Also, I don't know the page number, but I had a quote that he said, well, first when he was in therapy and he asked the question, is something wrong with me? And then he also noted that he felt like he was wired wrong or wired differently from other people, even his family, not just friends or strangers, but even just people who are related to him.
That kind of get into that biological framework and stuff like that. I talked about his parents and his mom being a therapist, and then what was his dad was distant or something like that, or
Yeah, they didn't talk a lot about his dad.
yeah, his
There's
dad
a
wasn't
few.
really in the picture.
yeah, there's
I
a few. There's a few times where he talked about it, but he mentioned how he thought his brain was wired differently, but he was also kind of surrounded by his mother being a therapist for people with anxiety all the time and stuff like that. So, yeah, that was kind of interesting to think that, I mean, there was environmental factors that go along with that as well. And he was kind of precursored into thinking, maybe thinking in a certain way, so.
Yeah.
Did his mom have anxiety, like, growing up?
I think it said there was a page in the book where it said, "But we were raised by two anxious parents."
Yeah, and then the brother,
Yeah.
wasn't the brother's anxiety more about his health? Like, didn't he have?
Yeah, I know he had anxiety. I don't remember what, but I remember like him saying that his brother's
Yeah.
anxiety was different.
And that was also
Oh, yeah,
interesting
I know.
that they were both raised in the same environment and
Yeah.
their anxieties manifested in different
Yeah, it
ways.
says right here Scott's is different than mine. From
Yeah.
mine, darker and more complicated.
Yeah. So
Yeah, to see that across different, like just how that kind of rubbed off on each sibling differently was interesting. Like back to the 4Ds, like I didn't see anything of danger at all.
Yeah, that was kind of hard to.
I also get that kind of confused with like, I mean, I feel like it's weird trying to decipher dysfunctional and danger, or distress and danger sometimes, but like there was no apparent like he is going to harm someone or he's going to harm himself or anything like that, or like a danger to himself or a danger to other people. So I thought that was interesting because when we think about, I mean, these disorders, we think a lot about danger and how people are, we think that our minds think that like danger is going to be one of the top things that we see in a lot of these disorders. So definitely deviance and distress, dysfunction were a lot more apparent than danger.
Yeah.
I did have a couple things written down for danger because like the health issues, like sleep disturbances, and I think he said he had like digestive issues, and just like feeling constant adrenaline. Like I feel like that can lead to like health problems that obviously would be dangerous. I also had, there was a quote where he said he said he feels like losing control like a lot of the time, and I feel like that can cause like impulsive decisions that could be dangerous and cause dangerous things, I guess.
yeah, I kind of noted that too, where his thoughts were just so overwhelming that like he's not endangering himself or others, but it's more of like his thoughts could lead him to more risky and impulsive
Yeah.
behaviors that could lead to danger.
Yeah, like, I think an example in the book was when he was driving and he was convinced he was gonna die, like, on the highway, but obviously he wasn't, like, purposely trying to harm himself. He just was thinking that because of his anxiety.
Yeah, and I feel like that kind of goes back to when he talked about his childhood and stuff like that. I have in my notes about how he kind of mentions he was scared of loud noises, like dark school settings. We see a lot about like how that anxiety kind of grew throughout school. I remember him talking about how when he started taking his mom's what was it, like a Vyvanse or something like that? It was some sort of a drug.
Oh, Vyvanse. Ritalin, what's it?
No, I don't think it was that. It was some, I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
Either way though, but how he went from kind of being a guy that was into like answering questions and stuff like that to a guy that like just sat with his head down and kind of didn't talk to anyone. And I feel like that kind of went in with the anxiety of, are these people going to be laughing at me? Are they going to be going against what I have to say, arguing against me and stuff like that? And I feel like as he kind of learned what his problem was, that kind of became more apparent as well. So, but yeah, like the young, the different loud noises in social situations where he can kind of tell that he was a little bit deviant from the rest of society and stuff like that. So we see deviance there as well.
I feel like when you said that he was like worried about others, like what they thought about him, I feel like that links back to distress. I had a quote. Let's see, what's that quote? But I remember it said like, so he was feeling like distress about like his symptoms of anxiety. Like there was one page where he was at work and like he would like constantly sweat, and every hour he would have to go to the bathroom, and he was like, what are my coworkers thinking? Like, do they think I have bulimia, like a UTI? So I feel like that definitely caused him stress, just like his symptoms being there.
Another thing I had written down was the description of what like monkey mind actually is. And and how the Buddhists used it as like a description of someone who's where is it? A person in the throes of monkey mind suffers from consciousness whose constituent constituent parts will not stop bouncing from skull to skull, side to side, which keep flipping and jumping and like you know what I mean? Like they're monkeys in your mind. Like I thought that was like a deviant way he described his own function, which also shows his dysfunction as well,
Yeah.
and the distress that it causes in his life. So that was pretty cool.
Did you guys, I think he was talking about his Jewish religion and being Jewish as well. And how, like they were, anxiety wasn't for everyone. It was just like a Jewish disease. He was talking about that for a while. I thought that was interesting how he like, in a sense, was trying to cope with why he had it. Like he was saying, oh, it's just because it's predisposed for Jewish individuals. My mom had it, my brother has it, I have it, stuff like that. So, I mean, that kind of goes into the dysfunctional, like, we don't really think that, oh, like, anxiety is specifically for one person or one people, like, it's for everyone. But for him to try to cope with that and try to make sense of it, like, he was thinking that. And that was kind of getting to his college days, I believe, or maybe a little after that. I can't remember. But and yeah, like college, we see a ton of dysfunction and deviance with the new schedules. His parents coming up and talking to him. I remember how he so badly wanted to just go back home and just kind of sit at home on the couch and like do nothing and do absolutely nothing and just kind of lay there. Although he decided to kind of stick out college and stuff like that. And, his parents were his mom was happy for him, but he just knew that he wanted to like stay back home. So like kind of understanding that the college setting and the change of scenery was super stressful for him. Just like trying to meet new people, make new friends, new schedules, harder classwork. And he went on about this, like college being just like the center of anxiety. Like, what's it really do except for like cause anxiety for people, exams, stuff like that. He spent I remember I didn't listen to it, so he spent a ton of time just kind of talking about how that's what he thought college was for, was just to kind of produce and give people anxiety. So another kind of deviant thought with him. So yeah.
To go off of that kind of like dysfunction aspect of it, it was a lot of times like at work he was not like able to focus on any of his stuff because of anxiety, and then you could see he started like avoiding like gatherings, and then relationships weren't really working out for him because of of his fear basically of it all.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up like his love life.
Oh yeah.
Where it said anxiety colonized by love, and then like when it was him and what was her name, Joanna, whoever he was like gonna get married to. They were like on their trip to Italy, and she was like, "You never told me you love me anymore," and he was like, "Well, I don't even know if I love you anymore." So
Yeah.
like that definitely showed dysfunction.
His experience when him and his buddy went up to the concert or whatever.
Yeah.
And then was it Esther, the girl, the Esther, and how she gave him a ride, and then how they went to the party with
Oh yeah.
that was just a crazy
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah.
And then my mom cried
Oh, yeah.
statutory rape.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Like, just kind of thinking about how that. I mean, he mentioned how this was like the root. He thought that it could have been like the root of all of his anxiety, and how Esther kind of created that. The sense of how he. What was it? It was like he was relieved that he had a reason to be upset and that he could overcome it. Like with his dad getting cancer, like he was happy that his dad got cancer, because then it's like, oh, here's something I can overcome now. Like I'm gonna be excited about it, which is completely out of the norm. Like people like usually, are sad about that, especially when he was in the hospital with Esther about the baby. And or it was like cysts forming instead of like the baby, like the baby, it was a miscarriage, and how he was excited about that too, because it's something he could overcome. completely deviant, like you should feel sad or sorrow and stuff like that. And then getting into the college party about her when it was like a gay party, right? I'm sorry.
So, yeah.
But his friend walked in and the guy was hitting on his friend and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then, she came back with a girlfriend and then was like asking him to join and stuff like that, and how he just didn't have a sexual attraction to her at all. Which again is another like you could hear his mind or his process of how he doesn't find any sexual attraction towards her or anything like that, which I mean, and then he goes on to talk about how a guy when he's 16 can talk about like a picture of like some Queen Elizabeth or something like that, and like how that just was completely out of the norm, how he couldn't, just find any attraction for Esther and her friends. So another sense of like, I mean, there's distress and dysfunction with that as well. So, but yeah, it was just a crazy scenario down there. But yeah.
Do you guys want to talk about, well, obviously it's about anxiety, but how it relates and aligns with like the DSM-5 and the textbook and what we
He mentions the DSM-5.
Yeah.
he did.
We talked about it.
Yeah.
And how like he was slightly off of what they described
said,
as it. I think that's what it was. But yeah, I thought that was kind of funny to
Yeah.
hear people talk about that. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
DSM-5 again? What are we doing? But yeah, what were you?
No, I was just starting the conversation.
I said that it was similar to his anxiety. It can be similar to social anxiety. Since he was anxious before like dates and like social situations, and like scared of like humiliating himself in front of others. But it's also different because in social anxiety, like your fear is like mainly on like negative social evaluations, and I feel like his fear wasn't just around that, but it was about other things like his health, work, dating, family, just like any events, I guess.
Yeah, I agreed. It was like very excessive worrying, but not specified. So like it was over multiple areas. But I also wrote like there was a lot of possible like comorbidity that was happening, like with his panic attacks. And then sometimes he would fall into like these depressive states.
That's right.
With like the hopelessness and rumination and I was kind of picking up on some thoughts of self-harm and like that he was going to hurt.
You like alluded to it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
didn't really
Never out,
fully
like,
say it.
yeah.
But like I was picking up on that. So that was like another part of it was
Yeah, he was worried to like pass out in public too. I remember him
Yeah.
talking about that a little bit.
Yeah.
I agree with that. How he had panic in all sorts of different situations. So it was tough to kind of narrow like, oh, this is just social anxiety, but it's like internal as well, and
Yeah.
passing out or health issues as well. So
yeah.
that's a good one.
I thought it was generalized anxiety disorder, but you could definitely see like symptoms of social anxiety and then obviously some depression at some points and then panicking, get a lot of panic attacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that.
disorder.
Yeah, it was similar to panic disorder,
Yeah.
but also different because like, in panic disorder, isn't it like what you're scared of is like having more panic
Yeah.
attacks, but like his fear like revolved around like worrying about other things.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like not just like having
Yeah.
more panic attacks.
Yeah. That's why like I feel like it was like if it sounds like he has so many different things,
I
but
know,
then
yeah.
it's like it's hard to
Narrow.
decide which
Yeah.
one.
Well, that's like you said, the comorbidity. Like, I mean, we see a lot. We talked about it a lot. How like these disorders kind of wrap in a lot of other things.
Yeah.
So it's common to see comorbidity within these different disorders. So the panic disorder, how he's like
Yeah.
it's just like a constant like a cycle almost where like he's afraid to have a panic attack and then that just encourages another panic attack. So it's like a never-ending loop, but
Yeah.
definitely. Other thoughts on DSM criteria at all? Didn't see anything with like food-related disorders. I mean, he had a little bit of a loss of appetite and stuff like that, but nothing like to an extent where we're like, oh, this is anorexic, this,
Yeah.
whatever, I can't think of the word, but like anorexia, or bulimic or anything like that, so.
Yeah, and I think that kind of relates to some of like the depressive symptoms. Like just, I mean, not that it caused him like significant like weight loss or something, but like not eating, like not caring for yourself can definitely be like a sign of depression.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't know what page it was on, but it was when he like got another therapist. The therapist was going through like asking him if he was feeling like restless, like and all that kind of stuff, and he was saying yes to like all of them.
6 out of 6.
Yeah.
And that's when you, I can't remember, it was like, is there something wrong with me? Like,
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
he's like, oh, there's something wrong
Yeah.
with me? And yeah, that was like a realization. I remember that too.
It also obviously was long term. It lasted longer than 6 months, which
Yeah.
is like the criteria for
Yeah.
DSM. So
He had a ton of therapists, didn't he?
Yeah,
I think it said like 6 at one point.
And then
Yeah.
I think he got another one during college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was like done with therapy for a bit. 'Cause
Yeah.
he thought he got better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think
Or
he
he
went
couldn't
to
find someone that was like, that fit him best because they're
Yeah.
all the same.
Yeah.
Like,
And then he
just
went to
talk about
college.
it.
Yes.
One of them like reminded him of Esther. I remember him talking
Yeah.
about how
Yeah.
his face.
Yeah.
That's
Her name
so
was like
creepy.
Sandra or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is just like, that would suck for him. You know? Like,
Yeah.
the root of your anxiety and your therapist who's supposed to help you get over it is just like,
That's
reminds him.
exposure therapy, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Hardcore exposure
Yeah.
therapy. But yeah, I remember him talking later, towards the end of the book about how his new or like his latest therapist was doing a better job though, just kind of getting an understanding. And then he had that girl, Jane or something, I can't remember the girl's name that he would go to, and talk about like if he ever had a problem, he'd just call her up and they'd talk about it rather than
Oh, was it Kate?
Kate,
Yeah.
something like that, yeah. Instead of his wife, stuff like that too. So I feel like he had a few resources to go to about this, which was nice to see when we talk about like the treatment aspect of it. Can't remember the drug. It's a common anxiety drug, but yeah, like how he would pop those
It was
supplements.
Xanax or
Xanax, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it was. And
Was he also on an SSRI or was it just which like
He
was
might
it
have
on
been later on.
antidepressant?
Yeah.
like his mom was given unprescribed
Yeah.
Yeah.
Xanax, and when he got to college, his roommate found it.
yeah.
Oh,
From
yeah.
India or something like
Yeah.
found it, and he was like, "Oh, I don't know what that is. I don't take medicine."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boom.
Then he like finally admitted or something.
Yeah, right
Yeah.
after he's like, "Oh, I guess that's mine."
Yeah.
I think he said it was like for his heart though.
Yeah. I remember him talking about in depth about each pill and how like he loved the name on it and the line in
Yeah.
the middle and the texture of it and stuff like that, and just to kind of see how his mindset of like the thing that gives him relief, how attached he became
Yeah.
to it
Yeah.
in a sense, and
Yeah.
like I mean he didn't really get into like being addicted to Xanax or anything like that or signs of it, but when he started talking about in depth about how it looked, how it felt, the name of each one, waiting to take the next one, like I started to think about like, oh, is he gonna develop an addiction disorder to
Yeah.
Xanax just
Yeah.
to feel better and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I mean, back to like the DSM stuff, but
Yeah.
he never really, nothing ever really came to it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. There was other stuff about oh, mm,
We kind of already talked about this, but like the causes of the abnormal thoughts and feelings. Early on, he talks about his mom and the way he was brought up in life and how she was a therapist, and like hearing her clients' conversations through the vent of his bedroom, like that was crazy.
Yeah, that
And
was.
then like him comparing his mom as a therapist versus what he sees as a mom in her was
Yeah.
interesting. I definitely think that is one of the main contributors, like the way he was brought up and his
yeah.
Yeah.
what he knew from such a young age.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember him talking about how like the different, like the two things that with his mom is she has a kid that she wants to love for but can't treat, and then she has patients that she can't love for but can treat or something like that. And I just that kind of like I just thought about that and how like I feel like he wanted his mom to be his therapist because he was so much more trusting of her and stuff like that. Although he just couldn't like she couldn't treat him, she couldn't do anything for him in the sense of the law and whatnot.
Yeah.
But kind of going back to how like it all started and stuff like that, I feel like you see a lot of with trauma almost like you see a lot of people kind of attaching to or like a form of that trauma in a sense as well. So I kind of thought about sorry about how he just he wanted to go back to his mom and stuff like that. Other causes of like this anxiety disorder, his dad not being around as well. It's I mean pretty tough on any child, but especially someone who might be predisposed to anxiety disorders. His brother having it as well, and then I always just think about how he talked about Esther and how that was like the starting, how he thought it could have been the starting point, although it could also have been how he was born, like with his brain circuit and stuff like that. So, but yeah, we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like we could see for me, I saw like the cognitive behavioral models the strongest. Because it said, it's like I feel like that's like it says misinterpretations fuel panic disorders. Avoidance creates or strengthens anxiety. Rumination strengthens anxiety. It's like examples of that. He definitely misinterpreted like, okay, I wouldn't say misinterpreted bodily sensations, but like whenever his heartbeat would start racing, like that would kind of tell him, okay, you're going into like a panic attack or you're starting to get more anxious, and that would definitely fuel more anxiety. Also, you can see how he avoids social situations, relationships, which obviously, I know his therapist said at one point that reinforces his anxiety, like avoiding. And then also, he interpreted regular situations as threats, even when, I'm trying to think of an example, but yeah, even just like before going on dates and stuff, like he definitely was way more worried than the normal amount.
Yeah, like even in the first chapter, you talk about how he misinterpreted, in a sense, like those bodily functions. Like it talked about how the racing heart, the trembling, the nausea, however you say it, all of it just kind of like his thought of about how he might lose control or die, like kind of drove that anxiety from an early stage, and like maybe it was at a subconscious level. As he got older, it just kind of sat there with him. And then, yeah, like how he understood and processed each situation and then how he reacted to those situations. Like you could definitely see the cognitive behavioral model within each one of them. And just how that affected his daily life. So I thought that was cool. Not cool, but interesting. But yeah, the only part of the biological model I really saw was how he thought it was his brain circuit and stuff like that. And we learned a ton about how it might be. That there's a few there's evidence to point that it could be due to biological model, but he hearing it from first person in a sense, like you think it's environmental, cognitive, behavioral, even like socioeconomical or sociocultural. Yeah. Sorry, brain fart. But yeah, like the people he's hanging out with and stuff like that, like his stoner friends and Esther being like a lesbian and stuff like that, and like sorry, no offense for me. But yeah, just like to see like who he was hanging out with, the situations he put himself in. His mom being a psychiatrist or whatever they are, a therapist. Like you could definitely see a lot of different frameworks within.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, but kind of agreeing with Abby, I think the CBT was the most, like, the one that made the most sense in this situation. But I also think biological was, like, a close second, just because it also talked about the predispositions that he also had, like, with his brother and his mom and his dad. all of that.
Going off of what Cam said about the sociocultural,
Uh-huh.
page 142 talked about, says this was a Jewish disorder, a genetic and environmental disease, that like pulled people in the direction of approval seeking, it said. So basically saying it's like culturally rooted in him. So I thought that was kind of something that stood out to me for sociocultural.
Yeah. Yeah, that was weird. I was kind of confused when he started rambling on.
Yeah, me too.
Then it kind of all wrapped it together. I also think like when we talk about treatments with each of these models, at the end of the book, it talked about how he would try to overcome each like anxiety attack or a panic attack with just kind of thinking about the situation and then like kind of dismembering it, like taking it apart, taking the value out of it. And that's one of the things we see with like the cognitive behavioral models, like how we exposure therapy and then I can't remember the other ones, but just kind of like understanding what's going on and being able to kind of control how you feel about that. I feel like that was with the cognitive behavioral therapies, and then with biological, we see him hop into Xanax all the time. So I can't remember if he was still continually taking it after like his college days later
I feel
on.
like it didn't really say.
I don't.
Or
Yeah,
maybe it did and I just missed it.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. But yeah, he definitely didn't talk about it nearly as much as he did with how he would like his coping mechanism, his coping strategies and stuff like that. So yeah, his and yeah, how he kind of accepted that was part of who he is. I think that's his therapist did a good job at helping him kind of take all that in and be able to implement these strategies when he had to write the book and stuff like that. Again, like when he was writing the book, he had to. What was his mom wanted to be a part of the book and stuff like that. It's like, I can't even write a sentence with someone looking at me through, or like a picture looking at me, let alone my mom trying to like write with me as well. And then how he thought when he was talking to Jane, I can't remember, Kate, and how he was like, am I having a seizure or something like that? When he was like, I can't form sentences, I can't even write a sentence right now, and stuff like that, and how just like one thing like just drives his mind crazy, and then you see it with like AIDS or something like he had AIDS. And he's like, I could have just chopped it off right at the beginning and it would have been fine, but it's been hours past, so now I've got AIDS. And like you could see him rambling on, and now the girl I had a crush with here like is never going to be with me. Oh, this girl I thought was really cool is never going to be with me. My friends aren't going to like me anymore. And like how that just spirals off, and like how he thinks about it, and then how he acts towards like how he acted after that, related back to that behavioral.
Yeah, obviously, I had that his therapist advised him to like identify and then analyze his thoughts and kind of be exposed to them. But I also had that rather than just doing that, he also said that he developed discipline in order to do that. And I think that's really important, because obviously just going through therapy isn't going to work if you're not devoted to actually change and work on what you need to work on, I guess. So
yeah, I saw like psychotherapy with it, like when his therapist was exploring like his fears and like his challenges to try to like help him with that. And then obviously medication, and then later on I saw like mindfulness more, like with his self-observation.
Absolutely.
I think he said like he tried his mom's breathing technique.
Yeah, the belly one or whatever.
I thought it was interesting, sorry.
No.
But at the beginning I felt like he talked so much about his childhood and like the fears that like he had when he was younger, and then never really talked about it at the end. Like I felt like that was also something we talked about in class, was the psychodynamic like theory, like model. Where it's like all like your childhood experiences manifesting in your adult life, and it was interesting to see that it wasn't really like followed upon in the book.
It'd have been interesting to hear about that. Is that the id, ego?
Yeah,
super ego.
Yeah, I know it's not like super popular, or I don't think it's very well backed by research either. But
it was Sigmund Freud's word.
That's the weird stuff.
Yeah, all the unconscious and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that kind of goes back to him like having just like an unconscious fear of what might happen. So like, I guess you could see it a little bit, but
Yeah.
but still, I think that's pretty out there. But
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, talking about the subconscious thing, I had that the therapist advised him to reach into like his subconscious chatter, like beneath the surface of awareness, and I think that also helped him to get rid of some of those thoughts that he was having.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I also I felt kind of bad for him when he was going through so many different therapists and stuff. Like, imagine struggling with like hardcore anxiety
Yeah.
or like a problem. You don't really know what it is, and like
Yeah.
each therapist is distant, not or the same. Like it's all the same, and you feel like you couldn't have any help. So, I mean, I just kind of I felt like that kind of pushed it even further along in
Yeah.
a sense too. How like he probably thought to himself he couldn't find help, and then you said he stopped therapy for a little while, and then he was like, boom, he just got back on it. Talked about how he had a breaking point, another breaking point, I think, and then how he hopped back on therapy. I can't remember where it was though. Yeah, after the breaking. Yeah, it was kind of after that you see like the danger of like unhealthy habits, his mental health kind of declining, contemplates whether, yeah, he was like wondering if he could even get better or not, and just kind of how that was a mental spiral, and then that was like his breaking point, and then he came back to therapy and tried to find another therapist as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I know one of his therapists even started off it was like a new therapist, and he started off the conversation with, it was like, what brings you in here today or something, and it was like a really broad question, and I know that made him feel, so it's like I don't think he really knew what was going on, like what he was really thinking, or what was, if something was wrong with him or not, like so I think that definitely kind of hurt his like perspective on like seeking help, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah. Like going to therapy, it's all, I don't know what I would do if my therapist opened up like, well,
yeah, I know, like it's such a broad
obviously,
question.
yeah.
I feel like that'd be tough to kind of dive into it.
Yeah, I feel like he was like very strong, I guess, because he could have either stayed with the first therapist and realized like it's not helping at all, or he could have just like quit therapy in general. But he kept like going to try to find someone that would actually like help him.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of
Part of his mom. It's like his attachment to his mom and how he wanted to find someone similar to her. Sounds
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, I finally found one that helped out, to be honest.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I keep forgetting that this is like a true story.
Yeah, like it's not,
So like brings me back to like this actually happened and like the actual the way his mind was working throughout everything and I mean just to kind of see the different experiences that he was going through. I thought it was just wild.
yeah. I also think it kind of, like as a memoir, it brings like, for me at least, it gave me a little bit of peace of mind that I'm not crazy. And that
Like
it's
kidding.
normal for people to be having thoughts like this, and anxiety is something that not everyone, but a lot of people go through. And sometimes it's like an invisible disease or disorder that happens, but it is real. So that was,
Yeah, I also think the fact that like he even wrote this book shows that, I mean, if you have anxiety or, whatever, you're still able to do things. I mean,
What did he go to college for? Did he ever say that? I mean, he talked about how he would write a lot, but I don't know if it ever specified.
yeah, I feel like it didn't talk about like his major or anything.
It would have been interesting to know what it was though.
yeah,
If it was
what he does.
engineering and how that would have affected his anxiety. Or it was just like a writing major or something like that. But
I feel like writing, but that's just a guess.
yeah, I mean, he talks about how he wrote all the time. So
Yeah.
I know there was a page where he like that talked about like what jobs would be good for people with anxiety. So I feel like he might have took that into account, like choosing, what he wants to do with his life. And I think that maybe kind of led him to the path of being like the fact checker for, what was it, Atlantic or something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Did you guys have the little like prologue of why I'm qualified
I think so.
to write this book?
Yeah, I skipped it on the audio.
Really?
Yeah.
It was actually really interesting. He was
What's
talking about one of his favorite therapists, Brian, and like what
Oh,
he
yeah.
would do. Oh yeah. Like what Brian would do that would help him so much.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. And like he talked about how he, like this is just one part, from free form anxiety to death by prostitution in 8 short steps. Like that's just how he started describing his anxiety.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to hear. Or like the interaction where it was like, Brian taught graduate students and he would videotape the sessions
Oh,
to keep
yeah.
for graduate students. And then like he asked Daniel, like, can I record the
Mhm.
session? And he goes, for training purposes,
Yeah.
is this normal? And then it was like a page long dialogue of just, is that normal? Like
Yeah.
his thoughts.
Yeah.
It was just interesting to see what like a therapy session actually looked like for him.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, like, is there, what are your thoughts about his relationships and stuff like that as well? I mean, I know we talked about it a little bit, but I thought that was very interesting to see how like different disorders can. I mean, we talked a ton about how the newer disorders we learned about affect like our interpersonal relationships,
Mhm.
but to see anxiety disorder kind of affect his friend groups and stuff like that. I remember him talking about how he got rid of his the friend that he smoked weed with because he was scared of something happening or scared of how he would think about him. And then his sexual relationships too. I thought that was just, I mean, what are your guys' thoughts about it? I guess I already talked about it. Like,
I think Esther was the most interesting one. And I think
she
that
found
also
a way to find
Yeah.
herself throughout
Yeah.
the
yeah, I think it goes to show like she was so significant in his life and like maybe she's a cause of anxiety for him.
Yeah,
too.
that's what I was
like a
thinking.
trigger.
Yeah.
almost,
Yeah,
like,
because it's
Yeah.
like he had to be there for her through her miscarriages and then like the whole like trip to wherever they went where
there's a college party,
yeah, like all of that, like she's just a lot for him. So
especially at a young age.
yeah.
Mhm.
I don't. What was he like, 16 or
Yeah,
15 or
he's-
something?
yeah.
Like he was still developing a lot in
Yeah.
his mind and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
like him having anxiety leading up or before, long
Mhm.
before that, and for her to kind of like indirectly cause more of it.
Yeah.
I thought that was crazy, especially when he was developing his mind and stuff like
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah, I feel like you can compare it to the stress model. What is it? The diathesis stress.
Yeah.
But I think that might be for like schizophrenia or something.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
where it's like you need like the predispositions or whatever, and then like a stressor. So I feel like that was kind of interesting. I feel like we can connect it to that because like it's clear that he had the genes for like his
Mhm.
both his parents were anxious, and then like I think the whole Esther thing was like definitely a stressor for him, and I think that definitely triggered the
Yeah.
start of or like the continuing of his
Mhm.
anxiety, I guess.
Yeah.
Didn't he say like he didn't like her in the beginning?
Yeah.
Or like didn't
Yeah.
want anything
Like,
to do with
Yeah, I
her?
don't think he
Like
ever
in the work
really
setting,
forced
all
her.
of them hated her or
Yeah.
something like
So I
that.
feel like that like also plays a factor in it.
I want to know what Esther looks like.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, how she was.
so important.
Yeah, I also thought it was crazy, like how she was so open about, especially like exposing him to a young mind, like how she's a lesbian, but she wants to have a guy so she could be pregnant. Oh,
Yeah.
but she's had 3 miscarriages, and then calling him to come to the hospital to comfort her.
Mhm.
Like that's crazy for.
Yeah.
I mean, well, he was 16 when he joined the party, so
Yeah.
and then she just left out of nowhere, and she came back. So he's probably like 14 years old.
Yeah.
Comforting this girl on her 3rd miscarriage or 4th miscarriage, like
Yeah.
that's like a trauma.
Yeah.
Like, and to see him not know how to react to it,
Mhm.
like back to the 4Ds and him being like, oh, this is something I can overcome. I'm excited about
Mhm.
this. Like it was just kind of a crazy like setup into the rest of the story and
Yeah.
how she like found a way to put herself into each chapter almost or each
Yeah.
like section of his life with a therapist, and then her leaving and then coming back and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Kind of goes back to the environmental and the cognitive behavioral, or even I think socioeconomical, like who he surrounded himself
Yeah.
with. Just kind of seeing there to be a ton of different models being placed inside of 15 chapters. So, but yeah. Any other thoughts or anything about any of the things that like stood out to you guys at all?
Who was Kate? Was she just a friend, or was
I think she was a therapist. Was she?
I don't know. That's
She was
what
a
I.
friend, thought.
I didn't think she was a.
I know she was a friend, but I didn't know if she was a therapist or not.
I thought she was just a friend
Me
because,
too.
She had
Yeah.
therapist tendencies.
yeah,
Maybe she's a
Yeah.
therapist.
He would call
But
her
not
for
for
a
him.
while.
Oh, that's why I just thought like maybe she was a therapist.
Yeah.
Like, it seemed like they would talk about
Yeah.
not just like
I
service.
thought she was a friend because he mentioned how like she couldn't get this recipe right or something. It was something silly like that. And
yeah.
like how she
You're
she
right.
couldn't
Yes,
figure out
yeah,
how to
no,
do the recipe or
yeah.
something like. So I
Yeah.
thought she was just like a friend.
Yeah, maybe she was then.
Just like yeah, and then he would like she like clueless almost, and he would just have like a source to just outlet everything
Mhm.
that was going on.
yeah.
But I also liked how they kind of like he talked about how they would work through things together, like oh what is it like when he was talking about the seizure or whatever he was having. How's your breathing? Like, as your eye fall? How's your eyesight? Stuff like this, and how they would talk each other out of like having a full blown panic attack. So that was like an early introduction, or not an early introduction, but like an introduction to another like self talk or what was the mindfulness?
Yeah.
Like a mindfulness one or a mindfulness treatment. So yeah, I almost don't like believe that this was a real story. Like, it seems like some of it's just like crazy,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it happens. Yeah. Any other thoughts?
I think
I think that's
Yeah.
it, right?
Alrighty, well. Yeah, time.
oh man.
Alrighty.
Why did your timer not go up? I swear we started at 6.
No, it didn't.